Hey, I'm Craig Parry. I'm here with legendary prospector Shawn Ryan. I'm chairman of Inventa Capital, and we're here to talk about our new lithium company, Targa. Shawn, legendary prospector, how many times have you been on the cover of the New York Times magazine?
I think twice now.
What for?
One was for mushrooms, the first one, yeah.
Right.
And then the second one was the basically gold rush out of the Yukon.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, you don't meet too many people in our business that have been privileged to be in that publication. Look, Shawn's been involved with us in staking a lot of ground that we've acquired off Shawn in Quebec for lithium. Why do we go after that ground? What do we like about it?
Well, lithium is kind of it's a new product in a sense. I say it's a new age. It's a new metal basically for the future. But really, from an exploration point of view, nobody's really hunted, like went out, said, let's go looking at for the best lithium in Quebec or Ontario, in a sense. What's happening historically is in the 50s and 60s, it was a critical metal, and there was a little bit of hunt, but then it went dormant. And then basically about 10 years ago, when lithium was up a little bit, everybody thought there was enough lithium in the brines in Argentina and Chile. So us gold exploration guys kind of let it go and didn't look at it too much. But then about 2 years ago, when the Aussies showed up and started hunting again for lithium and picking up the known discoveries that were actually either the historical ones from the 50s, or what happened in the last 20 to 30 years is the gold companies looking for gold in the greenstone belts, especially in Quebec, actually started tripping over lithium, basically pegmatites. And they didn't really pay too much attention. And Patriot is one of them examples of a gold project that turned into a lithium basically play and now is a deposit.
And of course, Patriot, it's gone from 15 cents a share to, I think it's trading at about $17 or $18 today, $2 billion company, a true tier one discovery.
Yeah, and the interesting part about that discovery is everybody can go online and look at their presentation. It's on surface. And this is the unique thing about lithium as pegmatites. They basically jut up above the ground. They're not recessive like our gold systems that would basically be subdued and basically drift under the cover. These things stand out as little, basically kind of vein systems, and they're white, so you could actually see them. You could see them quite easy.
And of course, that deposit, some of the drilling they've been doing recently, I've been privileged to have been invested in that company pretty early. But so I've been watching it very closely. They're putting out drill intercepts of 100 metres at 1.5–2% lithium. And at today's prices, that equates to 100 plus metres at 2 ounces per tonne gold. So there's not much more valuable dirt on the planet than some of these spodumene deposits.
Well, this is kind of what put this whole context into play. And, as a researcher and prospector, I was cautious before jumping into it.
Yep.
But once I started to realize that, I tried to figure out where we were in this game of lithium exploration. And if I would say we're in the kind of the second inning, at the end of the second inning. And what I mean by that is the first inning was acquiring the known showings or these plays that are these gold plays that had pegmatites on it. So, and then the second wave came in the last year and a half, is people tying on to these projects. So as a researcher, we stood back and said, okay, if we were to go looking for lithium, where basically nobody's gone before, where would that look like and what it would look like? So we're lucky Quebec has an extensive database to work with. And one of the unique ones that they did have as a good consistent database was this lakesed, basically database. And that means that they took lakeseds, average one every 10 square kilometers across the entire Quebec province. And so we're fortunate they did assay it for lithium. So the idea is that, but nobody's ever used lithium or used lakeseds to hunt for lithium because we weren't looking for it. Like lakeseds is an old technique used for base metals from the 70s. And then what they did is they reassayed it for gold in the mid-'80s, which led to a bunch of discoveries. But since then, base metals and gold have gone deeper into the cover. So the easy stuff on surface was basically found or looked at. But for lithium, nobody's ever used it to go hunting with. And now you can see a lot of press releases coming out basically talking about lakeseds. But what was kind of unique, and the timing was right, we jumped on it, and we staked, we staked the best of the best lithium anomalies in the entire Quebec database. And the idea is that we're dealing with 99 percentiles and above. And as I tell people, if we got 90% in high school, we'd all be happy. But having 99 percentiles, but it's kind of cool. Some of the projects Targa has, they're up in the 99.9 percentiles. So, and we actually not only have lithium, you have cesium and you have rubidium basically working with it together. And the cool part is, so that's one part, that's geochemistry. Now you add the geology, and you have basically, you have the right granite systems around, you have sediments and volcanics in there. And then the next thing you need is structure. Mm-hmm. And that's what we could see on the mag. So now you start adding them layers in, and then not only do you have the right geology, but you actually have known pegmatites in the area. And so all of a sudden, that was mapped by the Quebec government guys, never assayed. So such as like one of your projects up in the Raglan South area, there's a company not too far away, a junior called Orford, that actually assayed some of their pegmatites that they seen looking for gold last year, and they did get anomalous samples. And the cool part about that is when you look at where the anomaly really sits and where some of their known hits happened from last fall that they announced this spring, they're right on the edge of the system. So that was kind of the key for me. That was like the aha moment in a sense that, yes, these things do exist. Mm-hmm. We have the geochem in the pegmatites in the LCT form. And so the rest is let's boots to the ground and let's go hunting.
Yeah, and pretty straightforward exploration. As you say, these things outcrop or subcrop, so straightforward to see them on the ground. I suppose what I like about this business, particularly Quebec, I'm taking the view that, Patriot's Corvette discovery looks like a true Tier 1 discovery. There are a lot of pegmatites across there. Some of them won't be lithium bearing, but based on the fact that we've got lithium in lake sediments and cesium and all the other elements you need to see that would indicate that there's spodumene on our properties. And so a lot of money's flowing in there now, a lot of exploration, a lot of hype coming in now, I think. But, to my mind, I think what you're saying is that this is like going back to if it's potentially one of the world's great mineral terrains with world-class deposits everywhere. So it's a little bit like going back to some of the great mineral fields of times gone by before anyone's done any exploration, but you've got the benefit of a big lake sediment database to help us narrow down to targets, which is what we've done. And, it's a little bit akin to being able to go back to 1850 and go to Sudbury and stake all of Sudbury, or going back to the Kalgoorlie goldfield in Western Australia and being able to stake all of that back in the early 1800s. One of those crazy rare opportunities our industry presents, whereby you can see massive exploration potential and make some massive discoveries and have some massive wins.
Well, that's why I think this was the rarest opportunity. I never, after the Yukon gold rush, and then we actually had a little Newfoundland rush also, but to find to present this kind of story as an element, and this is what's kind of some people are telling me, this has turned into an industry. It's not only a commodity, but it's an industry because they need 50 new deposits in Canada or North America. So this is not going away. It's not like a blip and it's here for 2 or 3 years. So to me, but from an exploration point of view, Patriot actually shows it. You could see these outcrops standing. You could see them from drone imagery. You could see them from the helicopter. These things stand out they're basically big white vein systems on surface. Yeah, so as a hunt, so that's why using the lake seds and why we went up north in Quebec, further north up there, and the Mascaro area, there's a lot of outcrop. There's not much till there, but there's more outcrop exposure. So that'll lead us to discovery a lot quicker.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. What do you think our chances are of making a sort of, of course, Patriot's now a $2 billion company. It's gone from 20 million market cap to 2 billion in the past 18 months. What do you think our chances are of finding something like that? And what do you think, we've got 10 properties across Canada. Which are the best of them? Where do you think our chances are best?
Well, if we were I'm a prospector, but I'm a researcher scientist guy, and it's probabilities.
Yep.
So when we start loading the deck with the highest geochems on structure, on the right geology, with known pegmatites, and this is kind of like having pegmatites is one thing because there's a lot of pegmatites. And so if you understand the models of what we're looking for, there's a granite system at depth that basically has fingers of pegmatites coming from it into the basically outside of the granite system. But if Mother Nature, because she got glaciated in Canada here, and if she took out the top 2 or 3 kilometers above that granite system, you'll only see barren pegmatites because the lithium doesn't dump out until about 2 or 3 kilometers out. So that's why as a science guy, by us having the geochemistry with pegmatites in the right geology, that's telling me that our window is not eroded and we're sitting on top of that system at the right environment. Because like in Quebec, there's over 30,000 pegmatites, but there's only certain pegmatite areas that actually have the geochem. Yeah, that's what we picked up.
And that's what we've got.
So that's why, so in our game of prospecting or this exploration, as someone said, this is the only game where the norm is to fail. Our only way of upping our odds is with science. And as long as we take quality data and work with high probability targets, it leads us to discoveries. And that's what happened in the Yukon.
Yep.
Just using simple geochemistry and using that simple logic of probabilities led to quick discoveries.
And I see with Targa there are properties in Manitoba where we've got grab samples up to sort of 2% lithium, so it's there. But I think all of the characteristics of these properties that we've got in Quebec tick so many boxes. A lot of people hear me harp on about my exploration criteria and how you rank and prioritise properties, and I do that by size of the prize, cost of the test, chance of success. Well, here we know the size of the prize can be a Corvette worth $2 billion and going north of that. Cost of the test, not too bad because you're not drilling really deep holes. You can see a lot of this stuff on the ground and you can get out there pretty readily, and I know you're doing a lot of that work for us. And then chance of success, well, the fact that we've got lithium in lake sediment, cesium, all of the elements you need to see with outcropping pegmatites, I think we're a very, very strong chance for success. So, I really, really like the story. Of course, lithium's the right place to be at the moment. Prices of course, very, very strong. As I say, that statistic, that sort of gold equivalence of hundreds of metres at 2 ounces per tonne, you don't see that in many other things. As you know, I've spent a lot of time in uranium and in the Athabasca Basin. You can get those sorts of grades, but not over those sorts of widths. So I just think it's a wonderful business. It's going to be the place to be for the next 10 or 20 years. And of course the other thing we're seeing is this Inflation Reduction Act in the US will encourage development of mining projects for lithium and other critical elements here in Canada. So I think we're in the right place at the right time on that front.
Yeah, that's why like Quebec is it's a perfect basically province to work in. Yep. Like in the cool part, even from an assessment point of view, we were able to stake the claims. And you get the claims for 3 years, and your assessment dollars that you have to put out is only $120 a claim for the first 3 years. That's dirt cheap. So the point was we could pick up these big chunks of real estate, and then we'll figure out over the next 2 or 3 years which parts you want to keep. Yep. But it was kind of like someone gave us the analogy. It's like the oil when they discovered oil in the 30s in Texas or whatever. All of a sudden, it's a land grab, but we picked high probability targets, and my attitude is I'm lucky I have a lovely wife that backs me up financially. Shoot first, and then basically deal with the carnage. Yep. And it was so we picked up some nice pieces of real estate, and now you could see everybody talking about lakesheads. But the idea is we high graded the lakeshead. Yeah. Yeah. And that goes back to my mushroom days. We high graded the mushroom patch.
You've told me those stories. Yeah, fabulous stories. Well, look, thanks, Shawn. I think certainly if we find spodumene on the ground, I think that the company will be worth many multiples of where we are. And of course, if we make a discovery, well, Patriot $2 billion company, I think that's probably headed to $4 or $5 billion type valuation. We're at about $15-20 million today. So there's a huge amount of interest in it, and as I say, the reason being it's such a a tremendous lottery ticket with the potential that it could be worth hundreds of times where we are now. So one of the best things I'm involved in, certainly. And thanks.
Well, it'll be the cool part is from an exploration.
Yep.
We have a path. It's pretty well quite simple. It's boots on the ground for the first pass. Doing basically geology prospecting.
Yep.
And then once we nail these targets, we'll drone that stuff, and that's what you can see on the Patriot. Those are drone imageries that you can see all these pegmatite white dikes moving through.
Yep.
So it'll go quite quick for once the discoveries are made here.
And that's important, the good strong news flow to come from the company as we get boots on the ground out there and start sampling these things. So I think pretty exciting.
It's and the other cool part, especially northern Quebec, from their Inuit up there, and they basically Ground Truth has had that's doing some of the regional work for you guys. They've actually had some meetings with them, and they're quite sounds like they're eager to kind of see what we're going to find there and how they can get involved. So that's a big plus. And the other one, by being that far north, that's why we're up in that area to begin with. We're close to the Raglan mine, the nickel mines. So they ran for the last 20 years at average $7 a price for nickel a pound. So we're not too far away. And the idea is that they have some ports and infrastructure up there. So any discoveries, even if it's considered remote, because it's not by the Corvette, the idea is that the infrastructure is there and it can be worked from that part of the world. So no, it's kind of it's a rare opportunity, and I don't think I'll ever see this in my life.
No, unique in that sense. I agree with you. So there you have it. Legendary prospector Shawn Ryan. They say lightning doesn't strike twice, but Shawn's made numerous major discoveries. Hopefully we have one here. I think that the likelihood is incredible, and the rewards in the lithium business are tremendous. So thanks, Shawn. Great to chat.
Okay, thank you.